Welcome to Something More with Chris Boyd. Chris Boyd is a certified financial planner practitioner and senior vice president and financial advisor at Wealth Enhancement Group, one of the nation's largest registered investment advisors. We call it Something More because we'd like to talk not only about those important dollar and cents issues, but also the quality of life issues that make the money matters matter. Here he is, your fulfillment facilitator, your partner in prosperity, advising clients on Cape Cod and across the country. Here's your host, J. Christopher Boyd.
Welcome, and thanks for being with us for another episode of Something More with Chris Boyd. I'm here with Jeff Perry. We are both of the AMR team at Wealth Enhancement, and glad to have you joining us. This is going to be a great episode. You're going to enjoy this because it's going to be thought-provoking and give you food for things, the thoughts that you need to deal with. There's stuff you got to deal with.
Yeah, you're going to have homework after this one.
We think about estate planning all the time, and we talk about wills and trusts and power of attorney. There's a lot of important things to think about with your estate plan. But our next guest is Kate Huffnagel, and she is the digital wrangler. And so joining us is Kate. Kate, thanks for being here. We just had a great webinar for our clients on Wednesday. And if you are listening to the podcast, you'll have the opportunity to check that out and maybe watch that for an in-depth conversation or a really lesson from Kate. But we start. Just Kate, thanks for being here. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. I know you and I met earlier this year in Waltham when I spoke at a financial planning conference. I really appreciate the invitation to join you and Jeff today.
I went to a Financial Planning Association of New England program for adult, for education, CE, and so forth. I think it might have been Wicked Good Talks, but I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Anyway, when you presented, I was thinking, oh, this is really good content. This is the kind of stuff we need to share because it's outside the norm of some of the things people think about.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely the kind of things that we need to know. So when talking about digital assets, I think a lot of our listeners will probably be thinking we're talking about cryptocurrency, digital assets, which is a form of digital asset. But this topic extends far beyond that for the kind of things that everybody has, even if whether you have digital cryptocurrency or not. This is the kind of thing that you need to deal with. So what are some examples of digital assets, Kate?
Yeah, I'm glad you're asking that question. So the IRS defines digital assets pretty much just as crypto, but in the world of legacy organizing, digital assets are email accounts, social media accounts, your cloud accounts, your streaming services that you're paying for, the photos that you're taking on your phone, or as my husband says, I happen to carry around a camera that happens to be a phone.
Yes,
that's more true than not sometimes.
Yeah,
right. So all of these online accounts, whether you're getting medications on auto ship or you're getting pet food on auto ship or toilet paper on auto ship, right? All of these accounts that we take for granted are considered digital assets.
So sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I was going to say, Kate, when you said that during our client webinar, I just had this picture of after I leave this earth of us getting these auto shipments of dog food at this house forever and ever and ever.
Boxes arriving and piling up. Yeah.
Well, I joke with my husband. I mean, this is probably TMI, but I mean, I always put it out there. I mean, I get estrogen patches delivered 90 days supply at a time. And so I ask him all the time, I'm like, babe, what are you going to to with these estrogen patches?
Yeah.
And he's like,
know, right?
Black market.
What do I do with these? How do I stop them? Yeah. And that's true. Like I get that kind of thing, prescriptions. That's very true.
There's so much.
Auto cycle, right?
And it's not getting less. It's going to be 5 years from now. It's going to be even more prevalent. These digital assets and these things that are just automated. And how do our heirs shut them off? Or even know they're coming?
They want some of these things.
Right.
Let's just take one. Amazon is a great example where we do all not we, but lots of people do, right? We do some, but you know what I mean. Collectively, we do shopping in a convenient way. Stuff can come automatically there too. That's a good point. But
absolutely,
we might have all these things that we've already purchased through, like, I'm thinking like our Audible account is Amazon. Our
music.
Our music could be Amazon. Our Prime videos, I've purchased, stuff.
Right.
Yeah, right. There's all these examples of things that just like, oh, that's just one vendor.
Right, that's one vendor, right? If you're an Apple person, or think back in the early days of iPod, and you were buying music
All
through
those,
iTunes.
iTunes, right?
I have some of those.
Yes.
Still, right?
Right.
It's not really the way I do it anymore. I listen to Spotify, but there's another subscription. Is that something I need to be planning for in some of these kind of examples? Now, the things where there's like I think a subscription like Spotify or Netflix or I don't know, things that just I don't download, I don't purchase on those. I just have a monthly cost, right? So in those cases, it's just a matter of how do I terminate a subscription when someone's passed away.
Right, because they show up on your credit card
Otherwise, I'm
bill,
going to keep getting billed, right?
which might be emailed to you or maybe not. And who has access to your email? Just foundationally, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you start peeling the layers of the onion, and it's just like, wow. Wow.
So I had a change in cars, and SiriusXM notified me. Oh, we got notified. So that one, you trade in your car, maybe you get they're going to be on top of it, but not everyone's going to do that, right? So okay, there's this. Let's talk about the photos for a minute. I'm thinking social media and Facebook. It could be you mentioned through Apple or maybe Android. You have a cloud account where a lot of this stuff gets saved and stored. These are kind of different examples, maybe social media from the device, but can you talk a little bit about these kind of circumstances, social media, the device? What do we need to be thinking about when it comes to our digital footprint and the legacy issues?
Yeah, so there's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
So let me start with, I'm going to start with Apple. I go into independent living communities twice a month in my local neighborhood and give a monthly tech talk. And I make sure once a year I touch on digital legacy. But most of those residents have Apple phones or iPhones. So let's just start there.
Yeah.
So you're using your Apple phone. I'm an iPhone user myself. I'm taking photos. I'm using this device and it's a gateway to my digital life, right? I got my email on here.
Yep.
I have my frequent flyer apps, my United app, my Southwest app, etc.
Yep.
My social media apps. And so let's think about it. It's obvious to me, but I don't think it's obvious to many people, is, okay, can your loved one access your device?
It's like it's your gateway to everything, but yeah, if your face isn't there or your thumbprint isn't there or whatever, how do I get in this thing?
Yeah, maybe if your spouse, they might know, but if it's not your spouse, if you have your child or whatever the situation, probably not.
Right, and I'll tell you, Jeff, that my friends who are married, they have freely told me that their spouses don't have the password to their phone. Now, my spouse and I, right?
That's another issue.
Yeah,
that's another story, right?
My wife will know because I'm like an open book, but she's got the keys to all my passwords everywhere.
Right, which is great, and I met my husband in my late 40s. And at that point in our lives, we're just like, this is who I am. I don't care. Here you go. Right.
Yeah.
So having access to the device, whether it's the phone or the computer,
Right.
I'm thinking about my 80-year-old parents. They have a lot of documents on their computer. So
Mhm.
every time I travel back east and I'm visiting them, I'm having that conversation. I'm going into their home office trying to log on. Have they changed the password to that computer or not? So that's the first step, is just think
Right.
about all your devices. Our loved one's going to be able to access them. And then then we'll talk about Apple. So Apple has a feature called a legacy contact feature. And if you're one of the very few individuals that's reading the Apple, or specifically the iCloud terms of service agreement,
Mm.
you know what we love when we are alive, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we use these technologies, is because they're telling us, you can trust us with your data. We're not going to share it with anybody. Now, sure, some of those social media sites might be tracking our behavior, what ads do we click on, etc. But what we post, that we're in charge. I think about
Right.
Facebook, right? I can post on Facebook and have all of my Facebook friends see the post. I could dig out an old photo from the 90s when I was in college and just have it post so that my college friends only see it, because
Right.
I'm a little too embarrassed about my permed hair. Or if I don't care about my privacy on Facebook, I can post so that everyone on Facebook can see it, whether
Right.
they're my
Yep.
Facebook friend or not. So when I'm alive, I'm in control. And Facebook, that policy still applies if I'm in a coma or if I've passed away. And so if I'm not proactive, and if I don't tell Facebook through the Facebook legacy contact, I want this person to be able to memorialize my Facebook account, to delete my account, or I want that person to be able to download everything that I've ever posted on Facebook and then delete my account.
Right.
If we don't tell these companies through these tools, then our loved ones really can struggle. And not to those that were in September, it was July. My Tech Talk theme for these independent living communities was actually Facebook, right? Because Facebook's constantly changing.
Mhm.
These older adults get a little confused and frustrated. And this one woman, 88 years old, she uses Facebook every day.
Oh, that's very common. Yeah.
Yep. She calls me over and she has her Facebook open on her phone. And she says, Kate, all of these friends of mine have passed away, but they keep showing up.
Right.
How do I get rid of them?
Mm.
And I'm like, we'll call her Rose. I'm like, Rose, there's nothing that you can do. The families need to take action. She's like, this makes me sad every single day. Like, I know that they've passed. I don't need to be reminded every day
Right.
when I log
Right.
into Facebook. So, so Facebook has a legacy contact.
Jeff, you ever seen that with someone you knew died 5 years ago and everyone's wishing him a happy
birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you cringe when you see
Yep.
that. Yeah. Oh.
So this we're kind of talking about it in the context of when someone passes, but how about when there's an incapacity of a person?
that's
So
an
like Rose in this example, she's
Mhm.
alive, but she's getting older and she doesn't have the capacity any longer, and so somebody's got her. In our scenario, her nephew has a power of attorney, durable power of attorney.
Mhm.
Is Facebook going to care about that durable power of attorney? Are they going to honor it if somebody comes knocking at the door and say, on Rose's behalf, I want to download this account and terminate it?
Yeah, so that's a really sticky one.
Mhm.
The terms of service agreements that I have read primarily focus on after someone passes.
Right.
Now, the good news with Facebook is there is no financial
Right.
string, right? That account is free. And that's, now that I'm thinking about it out loud, that's probably why they don't really, Facebook in particular doesn't really talk about incapacitation. But I am inspiring the residents in these communities to have those conversations with their loved ones, because they may walk around with their little password book. Some of them have shared with me that that they're so safe that they've written their passwords down in code. And then I ask them, okay, but do your loved ones know the code?
No.
And they just look at me and they're like, oh my God, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And so they think they're being safe by writing them down in code. But then when I ask that question, okay, if you're not able to communicate, then what happens?
Right.
And then the light bulb goes off.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that's
oh,
I think that's a bigger hole than we think is out there. We think of death, right? And then we think, okay, well, how are we going to handle that? But there's more often than not, well, maybe not more often than not, because everyone passes, but many times there's this period of incapacitation. And, do our loved ones, do our powers of attorneys know how to access all the things we're talking about?
right. Well, and hopefully the financial power of attorney at least has the knowledge and the details to access anything that has a bill, a financial implication with it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm listening to you guys and thinking we keep running into this issue where people don't have checks anymore. They have bank accounts, but nobody uses a checkbook. So all they do is use it to transfer money, pay bills online and so forth. And, that's whether it's incapacity or after one's passing, you get some challenges of, does anyone know how to access this stuff? I do think there are challenges when someone passes, whether banks consider you to have rights to that deceased person's online access, right? They don't want you to.
Well, technically, if you're not on that account is
or
closed.
even if you are, they want you to use your own online access for that kind of stuff. But it does, it's a good example though. If you didn't, Kate, you gave a great example in the webinar that kind of a moving story about, the widower in this case who just didn't know that the bill was being paid online, didn't have, access to the email to get the bills or whatever. And therefore the lights go out.
Yeah, the water's off, whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
all of it.
So, if you're not seeing that stuff in the old paper, which, we used when someone died, you'd still get a bill in the mail, the life insurance.
Yeah, wait by the mailbox, you'll learn everything in a month. Yeah.
But if you don't get a bill by paper anymore, and you don't have a paper insurance policy, and you don't have, how do you know these things? And you may not even have access to where it's stored on a computer that, the life insurance was an example I had never thought of. Kate, you mentioned that. And incidentally, again, if you want to watch the video, you can go to our website, and it's wealthenhancement.com/AMR. You'll get to our website, or somethingmorewithchrisboyd.com, and you'll get to our website. So in any case, you'll want to check this out. But that was an asset that, life insurance used to be delivered with a folder, sometimes there was like a whole presentation of this very, nice binder of sorts that would house your life insurance policy. Now you get an email, by the way, your life insurance has been issued, and there's a PDF maybe attached or something.
Yeah, Chris, I was on a podcast earlier this year where the podcast host talked about a 529 account. So it was the parents were divorced. The mom had a 529 account for both of her daughters. The younger daughter, so the mom, if I remember correctly, passed away unexpectedly in July, about 6 weeks before the younger one was going off to college. And The daughters are now, college age. They've lost their mom. They're a mess. And now the school that she's enrolling in is asking for tuition payment.
Right.
Oh, God.
And the daughters are like, well, mom had a 529, but we have no idea.
How do we
We
get
don't,
it?
we have
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Where, like, what firm is it with? And
Exactly.
just
Exactly.
no paper.
Well, we know just not the angst of helping the loved one, but we know that hundreds of millions of dollars every year are sheet back to the states across the country because these accounts are lost in many cases.
Right. And as we are accumulating more digital accounts, particularly in this age of what I call, digital banking,
Yeah.
right? People, even if it's just for CDs, oh, you know what? I'm going to go over to this bank. I'm going to get a half a percentage point higher, or maybe I've got some I bonds or something.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
How do loved ones know about it?
Right. Yeah, it's a great point. And you got to have this list of where to access this stuff, how to get into it, where is it, how, to at least know it exists, right? To have some awareness. And, this is really a common circumstance in the area of finance, is that when, particularly in a couple, one person tends to be the one who deals with that stuff, and the other person deals with other stuff. And we have our household delegation of, like, you do that, I'll do this, and divide and conquer kind of thing. And you might not just, there oftentimes people are not aware of where it is, how it's structured. As time passes, we spend a lot of time trying to encourage people to at least be tuned in, to have an awareness. You can still have one person be the primary point person, and you can delegate some of these things, but it's helpful to at least have an awareness.
You've got to have that awareness, because particularly, and I think Jeff brought this up earlier, with the financial accounts, there are some pretty strict rules that those financial institutions put in place, right? And so, in my opinion, a good financial planner and a good estate attorney are going to be looking at how those financial accounts are titled, or who the account owner is, and doing a review of those beneficiary designations, because oftentimes when those banks get that notification that someone's passed, those assets become frozen, and then that executor has to follow.
Takes a long time. Yeah,
it takes a long time, right? And I didn't touch on this in the webinar, but last year a report came out that says that said in the immediate days and weeks of losing a loved one, families are spending over $12,000. Now that could be to pay for a funeral. It could be because 40 people have converged and traveled from around the country, and they're now keeping you company, but those people need to be fed. But $12,000, I mean, that's a lot of money when you are
out of pocket.
already,
If you have the availability to cough up $12,000, right? Yeah,
that's right.
for all
That's
the
right.
things that might be needed. Yeah, it's a good
Yep.
point. And then if it takes 9 months, a year before probate is completed, how do we get at some of that money to pay some of the bills and some of the challenges? You talked about an interesting thing when people made some quick decisions trying to save some money, turning off a cell phone, or closing out some accounts. That was I think an interesting tidbit. You share that again, would you?
Yes. So I had one of my early clients. So my business, the Digital Wrangler, is almost 3.5 years old now. One of my first clients was a woman from the Midwest. And since my business was still kind of new and I don't live in the Midwest, I asked the question, hey, how did you find me? And then I asked the second question, okay, well, why do you want to work with me? And she shared that, her mom had been sick for 2 or 3 years. So, her passing wasn't unexpected. They had time to, meet with the attorneys, meet with the financial advisors, and get all of this information organized. But my client, after her mom passed, she's just like, I've got these other bills I need to make sure that get paid for. I don't want to pay for my mom's cell phone. So she turned it off.
Mhm.
And she realized, within a half an hour, she's like, oh my gosh, I was trying to log into mom's Amazon account and close it, but they're sending a text message to her phone and I just turned that off.
Right.
Or any of the other online accounts, right? Because
Yeah.
multi-factor authentication in this day
Sure.
and age of cyber attacks is a blessing.
In a hurry to get rid of that phone, though, huh?
Don't be in a right. So her reasoning was sound. I don't want to pay for this bill. My mom
Right.
has passed.
Right.
But she realized very quickly that that was a mistake that she made.
Yeah, easy to see how that would be totally rational, but in hindsight, right? And then, that email address, keep that account open, but do you know how to get into it, right? Or
Right.
those kind of things. I was just thinking, today it seems like Venmo is more popular than or similar
Yeah. There's
venues,
half
for
dozen of them. Yeah.
I gotta say, I was a slow adopter to that, but oh, now I got a Venmo account, but
Right.
would anyone know how to get at my Venmo, the amount? No, that's not going to break the bank or anything. It's not, my balance there is not my bank account balance, but it's something,
But you still have a balance in there.
I'm carrying a balance and, keep a couple $100, right on there. So
Right.
why you wouldn't want that to be just foregone,
Right.
you talked a little bit about, points as well. I think that, my wife loves travel and, that resonated a little bit when you were talking about, travel points and some of the kinds of,
It can be big money. A lot of people. I know many
you've
of
had
my
some,
friends have like million miles here, and
we had a
it's
great episode with, was it
we
Colin
did.
Strout?
Yeah, the travel guy or whatever his nickname
Yeah,
is.
so that go see that on our past podcasts if you're interested in that kind of topic. But this was an interesting take on, what happens to all the value of those frequent flyer miles or, your Marriott or Hilton points or
Mhm.
whatever, or, you're just
Or your free coffee from Panera.
Oh, that's a great example. Yeah, like just like if you've been racking up
Yeah.
those points. So what happens?
Right.
They're just gone, huh?
Well, they're gone if no one knows that
Right.
they
How
exist.
to access them? Yeah.
Yep.
Right. I did not tell this story, but I learned this story from a estate attorney in Philadelphia who I consider to be one of the nation's leading experts in digital assets. But she told me a story that I think it was in the late 90s. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. It's like some famous writer, composer of music. And they had they had these digital files of a manuscript that they were working on
Oh, wow.
of something, and their will said, okay, Kate has my permission to go publish this,
Mhm.
right, as as an after loss event. Well, the files were password protected, and so the court authorized the executor to go hire hackers
Mhm.
to try and get in. The hackers were not successful, and they spent like six figures trying to hack
Access this.
to access the files, because they at that point estimated it was probably worth $20 million. So in today's dollars, that's probably like 50, probably more. And
Jeez.
so just because the executor has been authorized in this digital age,
Mhm.
the authorization is no longer, sometimes is no longer sufficient. You've got to leave those access instructions behind. So those reward points, Jeff, like you were saying, people who have, a million miles,
Sure.
that's real money. And I look at it as if the family knows how to access those, then they can transfer
Mhm.
those points to other family members, and then they can take a trip in their loved one's honor. I mean, what a gift
Yes.
that would be,
Yeah, great idea. Yeah, nice
right?
idea. Well, we're just scratching the surface. You get the sense that there's a lot of um, things that we tend to overlook, and how we should deal with them is challenging. And if we're not proactive when it comes to Facebook or Google or Apple or whatever, we might have problems. That those content might be lost that you intend to be accessible and retained. And so there's things you need to do, and some actions you need to take. I'm going to start with, you have a free download on your website, thedigitalwrangler.com. Tell everyone what they can get as a starting point, just to help them get
Mhm.
organized in this regard.
Yeah, so I have a freebie called My Estate and Life Organizer. It's a one pager, but it's just a simple way to get started. And it has prompts to indicate, like, where are you saving your passwords? What bills are set up on auto pay? Because the bills are certainly not going to be in your will. What auto shipments do you have set up? And then it also includes some prompts with just like a little check the box of what legal documents do you have?
Yep.
Do you have a medical directive or a healthcare proxy, et cetera? Because especially if you're having a medical emergency,
Mhm.
your loved ones will need to produce that document
Mhm.
relatively quickly.
Mhm.
And then there's also a section of, like, who are your trusted advisors? Do you have a financial planner? Who is your estate attorney? So it's just something simple to get you started and get you thinking about, wow, what information will my loved ones need to know when my time comes? Because Jeff, you
Yeah.
said it earlier, like, we are all going to pass away. We
Yep.
just don't know when it's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, and whether it's with a pad of paper or a good program, which you did talk about during the webinar, people might want to check that out. But you need to get started with inventorying your where you have these passwords, what they are, inventorying the kind of devices you have, and what because those might have details people may want to retain, those documents like you were talking about. That, I don't know if everyone's will be worth $20 million, but but you still might have things there you want, that people may want to retain, right? And you got to start somewhere. This is a great place. That's a great resource to have, a helpful tool to kind of identify some of the things to be thinking about. So go check that out. Thedigitalwrangler.com is the website. And if you need help in the process, Kate's that's her role. She's your helper. You can hire her directly. And I don't know. I'm still trying to find where I can add on my iPhone somebody to be be an added person who's eligible to that contact. I might be calling you, Kate, because I might need the help.
Yeah, well, Chris, you can always go to my YouTube channel, which is the Digital Wrangler, and I've got some videos where I screen share and walk you through, because a lot of people are
Step by step.
visual
Yep.
learners these days, right?
Perfect.
So if you have an
Doesn't have a
Apple,
YouTube channel like that, there you can pause. Let me get to that.
Exactly.
All right.
exactly. So for anyone listening who has an Apple account or a Facebook account or a Google account, you can go to my YouTube channel and look for those videos on how to designate the legacy contact for those accounts.
Great resources. Kate, you're such a pleasure to make the time to. Thank you for being with
Thank
us.
you.
You're such a great guest. We
Thank
love
you.
having you, and hope we'll have you back again sometime. This is great content for people to be thinking about. Hope everyone takes note and gets serious about it.
I hope so too.
Okay, thanks everybody. If you need any help with any aspect of your own financial planning or portfolio management, that's why we're here. We're a resource to you in thinking about any aspect of your finances when it comes to trying to put it all together and integrate the whole process. Don't hesitate to reach out to us if we can be a resource to you. Until next time, everybody, keep striving for something more.
Thank you for listening to Something More with Chris Boyd. Call us for help, whether it's for financial planning or portfolio management, insurance concerns, or those quality of life issues that make the money matters matter. Whatever's on your mind, visit us at somethingmorewithchrisboyd.com or call us toll free at 866-771-8901. Or send us your questions to amr-info@wealthenhancement.com. You're listening to Something More with Chris Boyd Financial Talk Show. Wealth Enhancement Advisory Services and J. Christopher Boyd provide investment advice on an individual basis to clients only. Proper advice depends on a complete analysis of all facts and circumstances. The information given on this program is general financial comments and cannot be relied upon as pertaining to your specific situation. Wealth Enhancement Group cannot guarantee that using the information from this show will generate profits or ensure freedom from loss. Listeners should consult their own financial advisors or conduct their own due diligence before making any financial decisions.